What is good, everybody? Welcome back to NFL Turf Talk live here on DSM Media's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter channel. You guys know the drill. If you're new to the channel, head on over to @DSM_media on Twitter. Hit that follow button. We greatly appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, check out the link tree in our bio. It'll take you to every social media platform we are available on. If you guys want to be interactive throughout today's show, head on over to the YouTube channel specifically. That's where we can pull up your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns. Hit that subscribe button and like this video. I am one half of your host, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter @DylanJD98. To my right, my main man, Scotty, the host of Scotty Talks NBA, and my co-host here on Turf Talk. Check him out on Twitter @ScottyDrown. My man, what is up? And we have a very interesting Thursday night football matchup to get into a little bit later on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very interesting. That was kind of you to phrase it that way.
Thank you. I'm in a good mood. I'm in a giving mood.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Dylan. You're being nice to the Thursday night football games because it has not been a good lack of history the last couple of weeks. We'll obviously talk about that, but yeah, man, it's been a busy week. It feels like we've been on here a lot more often than usual, but obviously that's because basketball is back. Phillies are booming, and everything's popping off in Philly right now, sports wise. We got the Union in the playoffs. We got the Flyers, obviously starting out hot. But I'm happy to be here with you nonetheless. This is my pleasure. This is one of the best parts of my day is getting to talk sports. So
too kind.
Here we are, man. Dylan. I'm happy to be here with you, man.
With that being said, let's start with Monday Night Football review here. We had the Chargers, Broncos, AFC West, that daunting AFC West division that we couldn't wait to get our popcorn ready for each time two of these four teams met up throughout the regular season. Not only has the division been a pretty big letdown, but I'd say Monday Night Football was a pretty big letdown. Now, it sounds crazy to say considering the game went to overtime. And that it was a back and forth type of game down to the wire. But Russell Wilson and the Broncos, he just can't get things good. Just when you think for like half a second, for a half of football, in the first quarter, he had it going, and he threw for like 150 plus passing yards, threw a touchdown in the first half. They had a 10-0 lead on the road against the Chargers. Okay, maybe this is the week they start getting the motor going. They start to find themselves. Dude, Russ threw for like 35 yards in the second half and overtime combined. He continued to miss reads that just Russell Wilson, a future Hall of Famer, should not be missing at this point. It's not the Aaron Rodgers Green Bay situation where it's the young wide receivers, they're not meshing. Like these dudes are running the correct routes. They're getting open. They're finding holes in zones. And he's just missing every read imaginable.
Good receivers. Yeah.
Exactly. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton was a non-factor, right? Yeah. And then you had the whole Nathaniel Hack, Melvin Gordon gets 2 carries and then he's out of the rotation. But then he comes out and says he's going to be the starter this week. Nathaniel Hackett doesn't have an effing clue what he's doing as an NFL head coach. And then on the other sideline, you have the LA Chargers who come away with a win
somehow,
but looked pretty sorry doing so against this Broncos team that we're about to destroy in this breakdown, right? So, if you're a Chargers fan reviewing this game, I'm not happy or confident in the Chargers moving forward. So your thoughts on the game, but the Broncos, man, they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah, the Broncos, it's starting to look like they're just a bad team, man. And it's not that, well, I shouldn't say team. They're a bad offense. Their offense is just terrible. And Russell Wilson, unfortunately, he is part of that. He is at the head of that. And like you said, he had over 150 passing yards in the first quarter. They had a 10-0 lead. Finishes with 188 yards. I just don't – it looked like he was using his legs more in the first half. He was, getting around that way a little bit more. Maybe that makes him a little bit more comfortable. But then in the second half, just completely abysmal. I mean, even in the second quarter, it slowed down a good bit. I don't know what they can do. You lost Javonte Williams for the season, so there's no savior coming to your backfield. You literally just benched Melvin Gordon for Latavius Murray, who just came off the practice squad. He was just playing for somebody else.
And then Mike Boone. I have no idea. And to your point,
I get that because Mike Boone is a receiving back compared to Melvin Gordon.
Sure, but they run him into the dirt.
Murray.
Yeah, but to your point, like, okay, Javonte Williams isn't coming back. When you had Javonte Williams, you
Didn't
mishandled,
use him
you
anyways.
misused him.
You were using
But
Mike Boone still.
So let me ask you a question since we're on this Broncos offensive topic. Obviously, Russell Wilson looks bad, and he's missing those reads, right? What do you think is more negating to this side of the ball right now for Denver? Is it the quarterback or is it the head coach and the play caller? Because would it look different with
really
Russ
tough.
and a better play caller, or would it look different keeping the play caller and moving on from Russ?
It's really hard to tell, man. It's really hard to tell because there are those instances that are going viral, right? Where Russ is shown and there's a guy completely wide open on the other side of the field. But then there's just these head scratching moments throughout games. It's not just one moment in one game.
Right.
It's been every single game, a decision or two or three that Nathaniel Hackett makes. You're just sitting there scratching your head. Like, what the hell makes you make these decisions?
The Melvin Gordon thing is so mind-boggling to me.
It goes from personnel to even decisions about like calls on the field, right? Play calling, game planning, and then even decisions as far as challenging. It goes that deep. Timeouts. Those are it just seems like the simple stuff this guy doesn't get. And I would almost lean Nathaniel Hackett. I'm not a fan at all.
No.
But Russell Wilson isn't innocent here. I don't want it to seem like that. Just
Not
because
all,
one
man.
guy's more at fault doesn't totally bail out the other. But I would go with Hackett here. Just this team up and down doesn't. Something feels off. Something feels off. It almost feels off about the entire division. I won't lie to you, because you got Josh McDaniels over in Las Vegas. They look abysmal. And then the Chargers, as you mentioned earlier in the show, and
Brandon Staley doesn't look great either, man.
Despite 4-2, I don't trust LA Chargers a lick. And
he played
Keenan
so
Allen
scared.
Make that much of a difference, man?
Yeah, and he played so scared late in that game. I was texting you throughout, especially heading into overtime. Just playing for a game-winning field goal in overtime with an injured kicker. Made little to no sense. I'm watching Austin Eckler, and don't get me wrong, like he got the ball a good amount of time on Monday night, but like the usage, right? So the one possession stuck out to me. It was like to start the second half, Austin Eckler didn't start the half. Then for the first two plays, it came to third down. He comes in he didn't play the first game. He comes in on second down, doesn't get the ball. Third down, he comes back out. And then they leave Sony Michel in for 4 more plays. Then Austin Eckler comes back in for a couple of plays. Then, so what are you doing? You have you have a workhorse running back there who was a dual threat in the passing game. He caught like 8 balls the other night, 9 balls. What is the usage, man? Like I'm not understanding it. Playing it to kick the field goal, you should at the end of overtime. I get it. When you just need a field goal, you're not going to move the ball, and you're in field goal range. You're not going to try to shoot for the end zone. But to just sit back there on the brink of field goal range with an injured kicker to his leg, to just run into the line of scrimmage 3 times in a row and go up 4th and 8, let's kick it, and put it on his foot is asinine in my opinion. Now he made it, like good for you. But you're lucky Denver didn't get the ball back with 4 or 5 minutes left in overtime.
It doesn't make sense to me. And, to your point, how the hell does Justin Herbert throw the ball 57 times?
Against that defense.
238 yards, and you know what I mean? 57 times, 238 yards. Like, I don't understand, man. Like, I don't understand the game plan here. No passing touchdowns. Obviously, we got screwed on that DraftKings boost there. But I don't know. These teams are confusing. That's all I got for you. The Chargers, I left it at that. I don't trust them as far as I could throw them. They are still in my top 10 off potential, but week by week goes by, and I just have a few more question marks. Like I'm starting to think about the conversation that I can't remember who presented it to me, but like, why do we favor Justin Herbert over a guy like Jalen Hurts, for example, who goes out, he may not put up the flashy passing numbers, but he gets wins. Yeah. And so I don't know. It has me questioning a lot of my beliefs around the Chargers.
It does, man, because I think heading into the season, I still do believe Justin Herbert is a top 4, top 5 quarterback in the
He's
league.
got the talent.
Simply because of the arm talent. And they're again, they did win, so winning they are 4-2, so it's not like that. But we talk about Dan Campbell and the Lions culture.
Yeah.
And we say, like, at what point does winning become a factor? Well, this is Justin Herbert's 3rd year now. They didn't make the playoffs last year in heartbreaking fashion. You're 4-2. I'm pretty sure they're in a wild card spot at the moment, but you're not leading your division. At what point, like, if they miss the playoffs at the end of this year, is it like, dude, at what point does winning become a factor?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the team, like, I know you're battling injuries. I know Rashawn Slater's out. I know Keenan Allen's been out for the majority of the season. I know Joey Bosa's out for an extended period of time. You still have a lot of money on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. You still have Austin Eckler, who you're using incorrectly. You still have Mike Williams, who caught maybe 2 passes the other night. I know Pat Surtain's the real deal. 2 balls, dude. He got like targeted 3 times.
Yeah. I mean,
so
it makes zero sense.
I think at the end of the day, you have a Denver Broncos team who, to me, is already out of the race. I see no.
I was going to ask you that. Are they dead?
I see no sense of optimism to think that they can even come back and grab a 7 seed in the AFC. And then you have the LA Chargers, who are obviously in a position to get healthier and continue to win games. But I do not view them as a contender with the Kansas City Chiefs to win their division. Now, something could change in the next couple of weeks. Only what? Or do they have the same record? They have the same record, right? They're both 4-2. They do have
the same record. Chiefs did beat them already this season, though. So
I just watch these 2 teams play. I know the Chiefs are coming off a loss, but that's the Buffalo. I watch these 2 play, and I just think they're on different tiers at the moment. Now, it's a long season. We're only 6 weeks of the way through, so things can change, like I said. But
they got the Seahawks and the Falcons over the next 2 weeks. Now, mind you, I'm not going to sleep on the Falcons anymore. If
can't sleep on the Seahawks either.
Time. Yeah, you can't sleep on the Seahawks. That's a very good point as well. And then after that, 49ers, Chiefs, Cardinals, Raiders. So it's hard to say with the Chargers. They're probably one of the most confusing teams in the NFL. Like I said, you will see it in the next segment. They're still in my top 10 power rankings because the other teams in this NFL have also been inconsistent. So
glad you bring that up.
It's a little crazy right now.
These power rankings were the toughest to do. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where it gets easier. Listen, we can continue to talk about the inconsistency across the board in this league, but at what time, at what period do the quote-unquote bad teams that we predicted just maybe aren't that bad? Now, I look at your number 10. I don't have them in there yet. But Scott, like they're only 1.5 point dogs in Denver this week. They're a win away from being 5-2.
And I think
a very talented defensive front, and Sauce Gardner's the real deal. Like
I'll get out ahead of it. I think they're going to beat the Broncos this week. Like quite honestly, what I saw against the Packers and what I've seen from the Broncos, and that may be why they floated up into my top 10. Obviously, they're a hot team right now, but I did watch that Packers-Jets game very closely that day, and the way they physically dominated the Packers. It wasn't just like Aaron Rodgers and his receivers. I mean, you mentioned Sauce Gardner. He was all over whoever he was guarding that day. Dobbs, Lazard, it didn't matter. Their defense is really, really good. Now, it's the Packers. It's the Packers. The week before that, they had another impressive win. Who did they just – impressive. Dolphins, backup.
No, you're right. That's right.
But still, nonetheless, still a slightly impressive win. When you see the way the Dolphins played the Vikings this week. But the Jets, they impressed me with that win over the Packers, and they have a really good running game as well. And I did see some stats during that game where they have one of the better offensive lines right now in the NFL. So Zach Wilson is ultimately going to be the question mark there in New York for the Jets, I would say. But that defense, the running game, they got it rolling there, and they got some nice young talent.
So I'm going to jump ahead. So obviously that's the newcomer in your group, right?
Yeah.
Our top 3 stay identical to what they were last week.
Yeah.
And I think having number 3 stay the same coming off a loss not only tells you how they're real and how they're one of the best 3 teams in the league, maybe top 2. It just tells you how inefficient, how unbalanced what's below them. So I just wrecked the LA Chargers. I don't think they're in the Chiefs tier. And yet here I am. They're only one team. They're the next team after Kansas City in my power rankings. Why? because I look across the board. Okay, the Rams won, still not impressed. The Vikings won. The Vikings are the one team I can consider moving above LA, but I just think LA has more talent if they were to face head to head. The Bucks, you lose to Tampa Bay, bro. What am I going to put you higher up above the Chargers for? The Giants and the Cowboys, I don't think they're for real, man. I don't. Now I see you have them at 4, and listen, they're 5-1. It's well deserved. They're 8th for me. I don't know why I can't buy into it. They had a very impressive win. Well, back to back in London against the Packers, obviously beating the Ravens, come from behind late in the fourth quarter. I can't buy into it yet, and I don't know why. I guess the same reason I can't buy into the Jets. Maybe recency bias, how bad they've been for so many years now. But Scotty, the top 10
it's
is
bad
so
quarterback
hard to do.
play too. I mean, those teams don't have good. They have bottom tier quarterbacks in the NFL as well, so that does factor into it. I think with the Giants, and I don't know how far it takes them. They have an identity at least, and I just don't know how far their identity takes them because I don't know how successful they're going to be in their identity. But it's Saquon Barkley, run the football, Daniel Jones make a few plays. Almost similar to what the Eagles were doing last year with Jalen Hurts in the run game, short passes, right? No deep threats. So it's similar in that fact. He's simply not as good as Jalen Hurts, I would say, obviously. But they run a similar offense, and then they have the defense that goes with it. Their defense has been really good this year. So the Giants, while they have an identity, I just don't know how high their ceiling goes. Like, yes, they're 5-1 right now. They're coming off 2 big wins. I obviously still have the Ravens up there for myself. They're another confusing team, man. They've lost in some brutal ways, but they
were a team I had to knock out, man. They were a team I had to knock out. Lamar, what are we doing? Like, like you start, like, remember we talked about the MVP race, Scotty. He is up and out of there for the time being. 2 bad weeks in a row through the air. If not 3 bad weeks, my memory can't go back that far.
Just crucial mistakes at the end of games.
Yeah, like the snap gets bad. Like, dude, what was the throw off the fumbled snap? You quite literally threw the game away.
Because, like, against Buffalo, we said, okay, the interception in the end zone, the throw to Duvernay never got there. It was a miss or late throw, whatever the case may be. It's happened about 3 games in a row now.
Yeah.
The same type of stuff at the end of games. And I know exactly. You mishandle the snap, and then you go to just throw it up. Like
cross
and you have the lead.
Like, middle of the field. Yeah.
You have the lead. There's zero reason to do that. Punt the ball and rely on your defense. That's the other side of the Ravens right now. While I still have them in there, I still do believe they have the talent, right? Once again, this is all potential on what I'm believing in the Ravens there, because it's not what we've seen. I just don't understand the crumbles at the end and the obvious lack of confidence in your defense. Against the Bills, you went for it. That was on a 4th down play, I believe, and they don't take the field goal. Whatever the case was, it might have been a 2-point conversion, something like that. I might be getting the Dolphins in the Bills game confused. I feel like they did similar things at the end of those, but they obviously have a lack of confidence in their defense that they don't want the other offenses to get the ball back, and you just can't win like that. The Ravens are supposed to be known for the defense, and that's the problem right now.
Yeah, man. It's very tough. And then I look at my number 10 on my list, and I go to the 49ers.
It's tough, man.
And the only reason – yeah, well, I'm bitter too. But the only reason I left them up there, 7 injuries on the defensive side of the ball. But again, that does not excuse the offense for scoring 14 against the Falcons. 14 back-to-back possessions, and then nothing the rest of the game. It was they were down 14-0, made it 14-14, and then lost 28-14. That's really poor. But I'm not going to bail on them yet because of the defensive upside when healthy. But nonetheless, it's a bad loss. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's only so much we can talk about these teams. With all this inconsistency and all this up and down, and maybe some of these bad teams being good and maybe some of the good teams not being so good this year, of our list, we know what the top 3 are. We're in agreement there.
Mm-hmm.
What team out of the remaining 7 is the realist? What team has the best chance to crack into that top 3 tier with the Eagles, Bills, and Chiefs?
Sheesh.
I'm going a little bit more potential here, end of season type,
Yeah.
realistic wise.
That one's tough, man. Because all of them have like major flaws right now. I mean, part of me wants to say the Cowboys or the Chargers, man.
With Dak getting healthy,
With Dak getting healthy, with Keenan Allen coming, hopefully they get Bosa back in LA.
Are we in agreement that the Vikings just aren't it? Like they're 5-1. It makes the Eagles week 2 win look even better, but they're just not on that level of play.
Yeah, I don't see how they get better. You know what I mean? They've been doing this dance for the last couple years, and yes, they're 5-1 right now, but
their wins are
really spotty.
Lions,
Bears, and then this win over the Miami Dolphins and Skylar Thompson. It was super close during that game. So not very impressed. I mean, they get up there. They're 5-1. You got to give them credit, but I'm just not super impressed. I think there is some upside there for the Baltimore Ravens. The Bucks. How do the Bucks turn it around?
Right? Listen, the Bucks are the team we all want to point to, right? Because of the GOAT, because of the defense, because of the weapons offensively.
Get healthier.
But how long do we do this dance? Is it 3 more weeks? Is it 4 more weeks?
Yelling at the linemen? Is the OL getting cleaned up?
Yeah, before we start to say, you know what, maybe this is who they are this year. Maybe Tom has just reached that point. Now, I know he came out today and said retirement is not in his viewpoint anytime soon, which is interesting considering he just retired last offseason and decided to come back.
Interesting.
But at what point does he not look the same? At what point is the offensive line just not up to par with the injuries? I don't know. Like, I saw the Rams in mind. You had the Rams off of yours. At what point are the Rams just what they are this year?
I know. I want to say the Rams, but for them, I don't see how it gets better. You're about to trade. I mean, maybe they make a trade Cam Akers, see what they get there, but how does it get better? They're barely. I shouldn't say they're barely
Cam
beating the
Akers
Panthers,
trade.
but
A Cam Akers trade
not going to get you much.
It's not going to propel them this year. To me, it's probably draft picks, right?
Doesn't look like they're getting OBJ. So I mean, I don't know what the light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of these teams are. Like the Cowboys, at least you have Dak coming back. Like there's a light at the end of the tunnel there that you can look forward to next week with Dak. But the rest of these teams, I just don't know how it gets better. Like the Ravens are they really that beat up? They're not as beat up as last year, right? Like
not at all.
Does that defense get better like over time? Maybe I
don't know, man.
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a great question. And I know we were going to talk. I don't know if you want to talk about it now. The top heaviness of the league in general. But I have a spicy number just to kind of prove your point with that. 20 teams 500 and above right now in the NFL. There's only 12 teams below 500 right now. And that's just insane to me, man. Like,
it's crazy, right? Because when you give me
3 wins right now,
when you give me that number, that tells me that it should be more wide open. Oh, I don't know who the Super Bowl, who is the cream of the crop this year. To me, there's a lot of winning going on, but there's only 2 or 3 teams that are legit in my opinion right now.
Which is why it makes those records in the power rankings so important.
Right.
I feel like, because of the
but not just that, but it also goes to the point of why I don't feel the Giants are real, why I don't feel the Jets are real, why we look at San Fran or the Rams and think, right? So or the Chargers.
Because I mean,
there's a lot of winning going on.
The Seahawks have 3 wins, right? Like just going through the teams that we just thought they wouldn't have a chance, right?
The Jets are
4 wins.
The Falcons have 3 wins, do they not?
Falcons have 3 wins. Yeah, they're tied with the Bucs right now.
The Falcons and the Seahawks, Scotty. I thought they were going to be 2 of the 3 worst teams in all of the National Football League this year. They're 3-3. The Jets, I probably thought were a bottom 5 or 6 team. They're 4-2.
Yeah.
I mean, don't know, man. I don't know what the correct answer is. I don't know the reasoning. That's why like we sit here and we go, man, I'm getting crushed every Sunday.
Week.
No shit. Look what's happening across. Look, Scotty, look at fantasy football this year.
Yeah.
This has to be one of the most haywire, crazy, upside-down fantasy
I
football
saw
seasons.
scoring's down 22%.
Not just scoring, but like the Jonathan Taylor is down here and Miles Sanders is up here. Cordaro Patterson's up here, right? Like it does. There is no logic behind it, man. There's nothing you can tell me that I'm going to be like, hey, you know what? That's fair. That makes a lot of sense to me. No, I have 3 teams, and after that, I have a bunch of I don't know what to do with these guys.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. I don't trust any of them.
Speaking of 2 teams, I do not trust, and that are not in our top 10 power rankings, is our Thursday night football matchup tonight, Scotty.
Sure.
The New Orleans Saints heading into Arizona to take on the Arizona Cardinals.
I am a Cardinals fan this week.
The Cardinals have not won a home game in I forget how many in 8 weeks, while Andy Dalton is 0-11 in primetime games.
Interesting matchup of the lifetime.
Which streak breaks, Scotty?
I want the Cardinals streak to break. I'm a Cardinals fan tonight because obvious reasons. The Eagles have the Saints first round pick.
Yep.
We currently have the 5th and the 32nd pick in the NFL draft right now, which is wonderful.
It's crazy, man.
This is a tough one, and this is a toss up. If nothing else, I'm leaning Cards in this one. I'll say that off the top. The only reason I say that, they just have a little bit of a spark tonight. D-Hop. It's a spark plug. I'm not even saying that it's going to make them better in the future going forward. Tonight, he comes back, maybe gets a touchdown. I do have him in for an anytime.
No Marshawn Lattimore.
No Marshawn Lattimore. So if he's up to par, he's had the whole year off, so he should be fresh. Should have been working out. I'm sure he's staying in shape.
Wasn't from an injury.
Motivation, all that type of stuff. So maybe Kyler comes out, looks for him heavy tonight. You also had the Cardinals trade for Robbie Anderson. I don't think he'll play that quick.
I doubt it.
Yeah, there's no way he picked up the playbook that fast, I would imagine. But that's an exciting piece that they get to add. They did lose Hollywood Brown, who's been having a year. I don't know. How are you feeling about this one, man? I don't know. Because the Saints, every time I pick against them, then they do some weird stuff and win a game. Like Taysom Hill had 3 touchdowns. So,
listen, the Cardinals are obviously not a very good team. They just put up 9 points and lost at home to the Seattle Seahawks last week. I don't see how they lose tonight, man. D-Hop getting back. Like, we're talking about a top 3 wide receiver in the game.
Yeah.
We can't discredit that, right? So it's going to help out Kyler tremendously. When you're looking at Andy Dalton, and I forget, I'm pretty sure Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry might be inactive tonight. I forget the tweet I saw with all the inactives listed with Marshawn Lattimore.
Olave back, but that's
they do, but
Thomas, yeah.
So I'm looking at Arizona to break that 0-8 record in the last 8 home games. Fantasy question for you.
Yeah.
I have CMC, who I just cannot sit and use my first round draft pick. Too much upside, too much potential, right? Then I have Kamara. I had Javonte. He's out for the year. And I have Dameon Pierce. Now, my question to you is Kamara the last 2 weeks has put up 15 and 17 or something like that in my fantasy league. So he's been doing a little better. But Taysom Hill takes so much away from him in the red zone and at the goal line, dude. And Dameon Pierce has been on a steady incline, and his head coach came out and said he wants to give him 20-plus touches a game going forward. And Dameon Pierce has dropped 25-plus the last 2 weeks, and he had a bye week last week. Right now, I have Dameon Pierce over Kamara in my starting lineup. Is that a mistake? I would hate to watch Kamara run wild tonight. And with Andy Dalton, you would figure they're going to run the ball more. But
I feel like they're keying in on Kamara right now. I feel like if the defense is coming into play,
well, hold on, help me out for a second. Though. When the Eagles played the Cardinals, was it the Cardinals' passing defense that was one of the worst, or their running defense that was one of the worst?
It was one of their passing. Their passing defense is one of the worst defenses. In the NFL.
Right. So not the rushing defense.
So I'm gonna go back just to see what the Eagles were able to do. Now, obviously, the Eagles a little bit different, but than the Saints as far as their running game, but. Can at least take a look and see what they totaled up. Can even take a look at last week. Yeah, so I mean, Jalen Hurts had 2 rushing touchdowns, 61 yards. Sanders had 58 yards. They both got 15 carries each. So yeah, it looks like we did it through the air. That was the Devontae Smith force feed game. had Dallas Goedert had a great game that game.
The
so
bubble screen.
Yeah, the Cardinals, their run defense is pretty stout. I think they're going to obviously come into this game with their mind focused on Alvin Kamara. I'm kind of leaning Pierce, man. Against the Raiders, it's their focal point of their offense. I don't know if that remains true for the Saints, but you're right. It is Andy Dalton at the end of the day.
Right, so you would figure they're going to run the ball, right?
See, now Seahawks last week, Kenneth Walker, 21 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown. So, but he did get 21 carries, right? So, would really have to look at the Saints and kind of Kamara's usage at that point. That's a tough one. Because Pierce has been cooking.
I think I'm going to ride out what I have in
Pierce.
Yeah,
that's where I would kind of lean, honestly.
Yeah. I don't want to get snake bitten, but so anyway, this game, who's it more important for? Because you look at the NFC, and the NFC is pretty wide open, but the Saints, with all their injuries and the inconsistent play at quarterback, and the same thing with the Cardinals, man. I don't view either of these teams as a playoff contender, even for that 7th wild card.
Yeah.
I would say that the Cardinals have a better shot if they can get right with D-Hop offensively than the Saints do.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now, because I'm thinking about divisions, the Saints, they're 2-4 right now. The Bucks are 3-3, and the Falcons are 3-3.
Right.
The
Not right about the Falcons.
1-5.
Yeah.
So they're probably, but I think the Rams, they're 3-3. The 49ers are 3-3. Seahawks.
Are the Rams 3-3 or 4-2? I think the Rams are 4-2.
I think they're 3-3.
Are they really?
Here, give me 1 second.
Interesting.
Kamara got 19 carries, 99 yards last week.
Yeah, man, that's the thing. He's starting to get the ball more.
Rams are 3-3.
Really? Okay, and then Niners are 3-3 then too, right?
Yeah, so they're both in the same situation, quite honestly. So right now, I guess it would just depend. Like, do you have more faith in the 49ers getting it together, the Rams getting it together, Tampa Bay getting it together? It would depend on those teams as far as which this is more important for. But I would agree with you just as far as upside for each team alone, regardless of their division standpoint. Arizona, at least you have D-Hop. You'll get Robbie Anderson. Hopefully get James Conner back healthy.
Right.
Then you can get your running game going. That's a light at the end of the tunnel. That's something to look forward to hopefully turn it around. Whereas the Saints, you get Jameis back, but I'm not a Jameis guy in the first place. So that doesn't
not for winning games, brother. Maybe for some
some
action down the field and some numbers put up, but not for winning games, not at all. So
do you have any plays tonight?
I don't, because
I have one, but I only put a little bit on it.
Your boy cashed out a lot of the DK for a Phillies game 3 ticket.
Game. Fair enough.
And then put his action on some Sixers stuff tonight.
I'm with you.
So no plays tonight. If I had to lean one, D-Hop touchdown and D-Hop 60+ receiving yards, it's like +2 something.
That is basically what I did here. So it's +350. 25% parlay boost. Arizona +7.5. I mean,
okay, I like it. Yeah,
come on. DeAndre Hopkins touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins 49.5+. And then I do have I have Kyler Murray 199.5+. So that comes out to +3.
If that doesn't hit, there's no problem.
It might not. I mean, it might not. I only put a little bit on it, so. Here we go. We'll ride. But
yes, sir. Scotty, this might go down as the quickest
NFL
Turf Talk show we've ever done, but there's a reason for that, everybody.
We're eager for the Sixers, man.
DSM pregame live. Sixers home opener versus the Milwaukee Bucks making their season debut tonight.
Yes,
Scott, you can catch Scotty and I on DSM Media's YouTube channel specifically at 6:30 and just under 15, 20 minutes from now. We'll be going live, breaking down this matchup, seeing if the Sixers can get right and how they can get right tonight at home versus the Bucks to be 1-1. We'll have some parlays put together for you guys. So come hang out with Scotty and I, talk some Sixers basketball, and get ready for the game with us. But
Yes,
oh,
sir.
I'm sorry. Quick business before we go, Scotty. This show was proudly brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of 2 great locations in Fishtown and Old City and book your appointment today. Gents owns the crafts and it shows. Rated the #1 barber shop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area, having multiple award-winning barbers and being able to handle any style of cut, adult or kid. Take a look at some of Gents' great work. Head on over to gentsbarberlounge.com to book your appointment today, Fishtown or Old City location. Guys, also check out our friends at Luxiden Jewelers at shopluxiden.com. Use promo code DSM for 25% at checkout. Again, that is promo code DSM, all capital letters, for 25% off your total purchase, and they provide free shipping. For myself, for Scotty, have a great rest of your Thursday night.